Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Anderson. This is Early European Explorers, corresponds to Chapter 14, Section 1 of your book. The essential questions for this section: understand European motivations for exploring the seas. I can give you three simple words: God, glory, gold. Analyze early Portuguese and Spanish explorations and describe European searches for a direct route to Asia. Eventually, that will be called the Northwest Passage. There are 3 slides with terms and people. I would like everyone to make flashcards with these terms. There might even be more terms within the section itself that aren't represented on these first 3 slides. Please attempt to make the flashcards. Something like the IDs you would write for a test. So 3 distinct things about each. Something like cartographer is more just a definition, so the ID wouldn't be possible. But please put some effort into these flashcards. It will seriously help you when you're studying for the final exam. Okay, how did the search for spices lead to global exploration? Throughout history, groups of people, from the ancient Greeks, Muslim Arabs, Vikings of Scandinavia, explored the seas, trading and migrating over long distances. The European sailors of the 1400s began a dramatic new period of exploration. Please know the Chinese did as well, the exact same time period, and there's plenty of things being explored about the Chinese of this time period, but right now we're going to stick to the Europeans. Europeans desired luxury goods from Asia, especially spices. You guys will remember this from the Crusades. The Crusades opened up a whole new trade market, which came through Italy, and one of those things was spices: cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, pepper. I would bet you all have these in your kitchen. They were used back then. They were considered luxury items. They were used to flavor meats, preserve food, make perfumes and medicines. Demand will drop during the Black Death. It will drop because people are more concerned about attempting to stay alive than they are about luxury items. But by the beginning of the Renaissance, by the 1400s, Europe's population was growing again, and the demand for spices will rise. Most spices came from the Southeast Asia. Muslim traders carried goods from Asia to the Mediterranean, where the Italian merchants would then sell them to other Europeans. The Italians acted as a middleman, and the price of the spices went up. Other Europeans will realize maybe they could save some money by gaining direct access to Asia. As Europeans seek new routes to Asia, they will benefit from new or improved technology. Of that new technology, we have the magnetic compass, which will show direction; portoline maps, which are maps with lines radiating from compasses that showed routes to important ports; the astrolabe, which had been around for a while, and please see the picture on the right, was an ancient device adapted for finding latitude and telling time; and the caravel, a new, lighter, fast ship with numerous masts and a stern post rudder. It had square and triangular sails and was adapted from the Arabs. This made it easier to sail across the ocean and into the wind. Please notice we've talked about latitude already. There was no way for the Europeans at this time to find longitude. That's why they will never know how far they need to sail. And we'll talk about that with Columbus. Portugal will lead the way in exploration under Prince Henry the Navigator. Portuguese expeditions sailed eastward along the coast of Africa. Please know Prince Henry the Navigator was not an explorer himself. However, he set up a school where he gathered map makers, scientists, and other experts, where they will redesign the ships, train sea captains, prepare more accurate maps, do whatever is needed to make exploration easier. Henry inspired explorers and sponsored voyages. Unfortunately, he will die before the first Portuguese explorer actually makes it to the Cape of Good Hope. Portugal hoped to Christianize the Africans and find a route to Asia. So, The three important words for exploration. Why did they explore? God, glory, and gold. Just like the Crusades, and this also resembles imperialism, which you will learn about the 19th century in world history too. Henry will die in 1460. However, Portuguese navigators will continue his quest. In 1488, Bartholomew Diaz will round the southern tip of Africa. He will call this the Cape of Storms because of the turbulent seas. However, later on it will become known as the Cape of Good Hope, knowing that India is your next stop. In 1497, Vasco da Gama will sail for Portugal around Africa, and after 10 months, he will reach India. They will reach India and spices without going through the Italians and the Mediterranean. Vasco da Gama later helped Portugal build a vast trading network around the Indian Ocean. What's interesting to note about the Portuguese is that they did not conquer the people of India. They set up a trading network, trading posts. So they would have a contract with the locals. They would set up a warehouse. They would buy spices when they could buy them cheap, keep them in the warehouse until they could be brought back to Portugal, and then they would sell them in Europe for a vast profit. In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed westward across the Atlantic with three ships. Please note, Christopher Columbus was Italian. He went to Portugal to see if they would sponsor his trip. He was actually turned down by the Portuguese, so he went to Spain. Remember, Ferdinand and Isabella in 1492 were done with the Reconquista and the Inquisition, and they sponsored his trip. He will take three ships on his first voyage, the Nina, the Pinta, and his flagship, the Santa Maria, on his journey that was supposed to take a couple of weeks. Remember, he did not know longitude, so he had no idea how wide the Atlantic Ocean was. The ocean was wider than he thought, and he had an entire continent between him and the Spice Islands. His crew was running out of food and on the verge of mutiny when land was spotted on October 12th. Columbus explored the islands of the Caribbean, which he believed to be the East Indies. Columbus will make three more voyages and die thinking he actually arrived at the East Indies. He called the people he met Indians, and he will return to Spain, a hero. In 1493, Ferdinand and Isabella appealed to the Pope to support their claim to all land in what Europeans referred to as the New World. Portugal was also a very Christian, very Catholic country, and they were exploring as well. So they both appealed to the Pope. At this time, Pope Alexander VI, who is a Spaniard, will set a map out on a table and draw an arbitrary line, and this is called the line of demarcation, dividing all non-European land between Portugal and Spain. Land to the west of the line went to Spain. Land to the east of the line will go to Portugal. It will seem at the beginning that Portugal received the best part with the Azores and Cape Verde. We now know that that was not to be the case. Spain got the lion's share. In the Treaty of Tordesillas, the line was redrawn a little bit. It was moved west. That is why Brazil in South America speaks Portuguese. So the Treaty of Tordesillas, 1494, Spain and Portugal agreed to the new line set by the Pope. The line was very imprecise due to the lack of knowledge of the geography at the time. Other European nations were eager to defy what they saw as arrogance on the part of Portugal and Spain. After all the European nations wanted to explore. And as nations scrambled to create their own empires, an age of empire building began. Please see this map, Early Voyages of European Explorers, 1487 to 1609. This map is also represented in your book. The Western Hemisphere was named America in 1507 by German cartographer Martin Walsermuller. The name came from Italian sea captain Amerigo Vespucci, who wrote about his visit. Walsermuller read what was written by Vespucci and decided upon the name America. After a while, he decided he didn't like the name and he wanted to change it, but his map was already out there, and basically the name America stuck. The islands Columbus had mistaken for the East Indies will become known as the West Indies instead. The English, Dutch, and French explored the coast of North America looking for something called the Northwest Passage. This is a water passage to the Spice Islands, something to make it easier to stay on ship. They thought it would be quicker than having to go across land. It will take a long time to find this Northwest Passage. In 1513, Vasco de Balboa walked across the jungles of Central America and saw the Pacific Ocean. He will name this the South Sea. It will later be renamed by Ferdinand Magellan. In 1519, Magellan will set out to find a passage to the east by sailing south and west. It is thought that the water passage must be to the south. In 1521, after sailing around South America and naming the Strait of Magellan, which is right at the tip of South America, he and his crew saw the Pacific Ocean named the South Sea by Balboa, and it's Magellan who will name it the Pacific Ocean because of how calm it is in contrast to the Atlantic. Magellan himself will get caught up in a fight in the Philippines and be hacked to pieces. So he will not be the first to circumnavigate the globe. However, out of the 5 ships that begin with Magellan in 1519, by 1522, one of his ships will make it home to Spain, and they will be the first to circumnavigate the entire globe. So, searching for the Northwest Passage, we have the other European powers, the English, the French, the Dutch. John Cabot will sail for England in 1497 under the first Tudor King of England, King Henry VII. Henry VII was very frugal, but he did not want England to be left behind in this exploration phase. So he was the first to imagine, John Cabot will be the first to imagine that the passage to get to Asia by water was in a northern direction. He will claim Newfoundland for England. Jacques Cartier will sail for France and will explore the St. Lawrence River. And Henry Hudson will explore and name the Hudson River for the Dutch. The Northwest Passage was eventually found in 1903 by Roald Amundsen. It will take him approximately 3 years to traverse the Northwest Passage, which is close to the Arctic. It is north of Canada, so incredibly cold. And it will take 3 years because he will have to keep waiting for the ice to melt so his ship can continue. Please notice the chart on slide 21, Important European Explorers. This chart is not complete. Your assignment, open up Notability file. Please make a chart like the one on slide 21. Please include everyone in this PowerPoint. And there's some people that we mentioned. Balboa is there, I apologize, but Diaz is not. And there's a few other people. Please include them in the chart. This will be a really good way to study. As we get into chapter 15 and we talk about Cortez and Pizarro, please add all of those explorers' names to your chart as well. It will add to how you can study for the final exam. Besides flashcards, you will have this chart. Please make sure you include the name of the explorer, who they explored for, so which country, and what they accomplished. On the last slide of this PowerPoint, European footholds in the Eastern Hemisphere, please just read this. Thank you very much, and I'll be talking to you in chapter 15.